My mom makes a homemade mac and cheese that's really yummy. But my kids prefer Kraft all day long. Someone said they were Velveeta lovers. Nice and liquidy. Awesome. So what is our photosynthesis equation? It's going to be that carbon dioxide, which we already know. All right. It's going to be water. Where does a plant get its water? All right. If I am drinking water, I can drink it from a cup. Sometimes I like to drink with a straw. All right. Where does a plant get water from? Does it get it from its leaves? Thank you, JB. Yes. It gets it. It's a plant. The root of a plant is like a bunch of straws, right? So when it rains like it did all weekend, you can take that straw. It takes all that straws and sucks up the water. Good. So it's getting the carbon dioxide. It has a bunch of pores, just like your face, right? Your face has pores on it. And our leaves of our plants also have pores on them. They're called stomata. And those pores can open and close. And that is what actually takes in our carbon dioxide. That's also where we're going to gather the sunlight. So it's going to be carbon dioxide. It's going to enter through the pores in our leaf. Water, which is going to enter from the roots of the plant. And then light energy, which is also going to be gathered by those leaves. All right, and what's going to happen is those are all going to, quote, put in the oven, right? And what comes out is our glucose that our plants are going to need to make ATP. Awesome. So let's move on. That hits our equation objective. This is another good slide to save if you are a note taker, note saver. All right, it shows you the comparisons of those equations. Our photosynthesis equation versus our cellular respiration equation. Yes, they are opposite, Maria. Good. Just like we talked about the sugar on opposite ends. And photosynthesis putting out oxygen, whereas in cellular respiration, it's putting out carbon dioxide and water. So they're like soulmates. They need what the other person has. They don't have it themselves, but they can share that. Yes. Awesome. All right, so help me. What pair? Let's do a polling. I think I can do that. Yes. All right, so which one of these is missing from the equation? Which pair of terms are missing? Blank plus water and light energy equals blank plus sugar. So what do we need to go in? You guys are rocking it. Yep, carbon dioxide goes in. And B, oxygen and sugar. Well, look how awesome you guys are. It's pretty impressive. For a Monday morning with a half missing Mrs. Rittenhouse. Perfect. Awesome. So these two processes work in perfect harmony. They're besties. Another good one to save if you need that. So let's take a closer look at photosynthesis. Where does this take place? You were right. Not only does it take place in the chloroplast, we are switching cells today. I hate to break it to you all, but we are not photosynthetic organisms. Your smells, your cells, as smart and awesome as they are, they cannot go through the process of photosynthesis because they do not have this organelle. They are lacking the chloroplast. So this would be a good test question for the end of course biology test. Sometimes they'll say, they may put up a cell that looks just like this and they'll label it. And if you see that organelle of the chloroplast, you're going to know that that is not an animal cell because that cell has a chloroplast in it. All right? Chloroplasts are only in plant cells. You can also see that this one is dyed green. Even in slides that you look at under the microscope, a lot of times they will dye those cells with a green dye. So that's helpful too. The green dye will also be an indicator of a plant cell. I see your question, Peyton, in chat. I will check into that while you're not able to see your grades. So today we're going to look inside our chloroplast. There are 2 steps of photosynthesis, okay? I want you to help me brainstorm why there may be 2 steps. One is called the light-dependent reaction, and one is the light-independent reaction. Yes. So one, perfect, Kaden, is going to need the sun. Why would there need to be a cycle that doesn't need the sun, though? I'm looking outside my window. I see a beautiful tree. It's got yellow leaves right now that are glowing in the morning sunlight. Yes, Brianna, if I have my camera on, I'm high-fiving you. Yes, JB, perfect. So you're right, there are some cells, like our root cells, that don't get sunlight, right? But there's also 24 hours in the day. Yes, yes, I saw you, Kaden. You were the first one. You're on it. I will give credit where credit is due, for sure. There are going to, you can give it back to me. There are going to be times of the day, hence nighttime, that that plants are not going to be able to gather sunlight. So there's going to be, they're very functional cells. During the day, our plants are going to be able to gather cells and be productive. But at night, plant cells don't do what we do. We don't just shut down and be like, good night, world. I'm just going to not need energy to survive since the sun isn't out. All right. What happens is there is a light independent reaction that, because just even when we sleep, does our body need energy while we sleep? Yeah. I mean, our bodies are still functioning. They do need less. You're right, which is why it is important to sleep. But at night when we go to sleep, when we rest, there are our organ systems are still going through everything that we need to stay alive and functioning. And it's the same way for plants. And if they get their energy from the sunlight and the sunlight is gone, they have to have a way of storing it and processing it. Yes. While the sun is down. So we're going to look at those today. Why is my picture not showing? This is a really interesting. Oh, there it is. That was so weird. Did you guys see that picture before? My slide was blank. Still digesting the 5 pounds of cheese. 5 pounds of cheese you ate for dinner. That is a lot of cheese, JB. Oh my word. That's awesome. Okay, well, I don't know if that picture showed for you or not, but here we go. Let's take a peek. This is what is going to happen. The first step is to get those things that are reactants in photosynthesis. So those things that we needed. We need to capture the light energy. How do we do this? All right. So what happens is the sunlight on our plants outside goes through those pores into the leaves of the plant. So if you look at the size of plant leaves, they're very specific. All right. In fact, sometimes the further south you go, the bigger the leaves you'll get. Like in the tropical rainforest, you have trees that are exceptionally tall. They grow to the canopy of those rainforests so that they can get high above the vegetation to actually capture those. Same things with the size of leaves. They're very intentional. So those leaves are, ooh, I think I can use my pointer now, are able to capture that sunlight. And I want you to think back to your physical science days. All right, one of them was reflection. What is another version of reflection? I don't know. I just lost my slides. I mean, it was Halloween, you know, weird things that could happen. Ah, um, reflection, stay with me. It's not reflection. Reflection is when you see your image like directly reflected in the mirror. What is the other one? Refract. Yes, refraction. All right, so in refraction, instead of the waves bouncing directly back, the waves go into something and are bent, right? So that's what I want you to think of refraction when you think of how these plants gather sunlight. There's actually a liquid in this thylakoid membrane in your plant cells. All right, so what is actually going to happen is the sunlight comes in and it's going to get refracted in that liquid. And when it does that, it's going to slow the wave down. And when you slow energy down, it's a way of transferring energy. Does that make sense? So I'm giving you a detailed explanation for wanting you to know. All right, what do I really just need you to know is that the plants collects energy from the sunlight through the liquid in the thylakoid membrane. Right? It gathers energy. How do we are you following me on that? Give me a poll. I feel so weird not being able to hear you. You talk enough in this class that I'm like, I feel so alone. Awesome. So we're following. So our leaves do the collecting on the leaf surface. That sunlight goes in, is captured by the thylakoid membranes. All right. Stage 2, that light energy is then going to be converted to ATP and NADPH. Who remembers NADPH? Somebody tell me what we did with this NADPH. Right, we did the same thing in the Krebs cycle where we had NADP, we attached that H. What do we do with that NADPH? Yes, we rolled it down the stairs. What happens when we rolled that NADPH down the stairs? That H popped back off. Yep, it broke and released the energy in that bond, right? Because when bonds are broken, what is released? When bonds break, you guys are making me so happy. Good. Energy is released. Perfect. So we get that light energy into the thylakoid membranes and it converts, right? When that energy comes into the thylakoid membrane, it gets bent and slowed down. We use the energy to make ATP, which is what we need, and NADPH. All right. And then guess what happens in the dark cycle? Right? We're going to use that we're going to use that ATP and store it. But we're going to use that NADPH as we enter the next cycle. All right, let's skip this for time's sake. It was to keep us. All right, so stage 1, this is for all y'all that like physical science. It's just explaining to you. A lot of people think that you are going to absorb the green light from the rainbow, when that is not the type of energy that is actually absorbed. All right, you see green leaves typically when it's not fall, right? So when you see that color, that is the color that's actually being reflected. All right. The energy that we absorb are going to be the blue and red energy, or the light wavelengths. The blue and the red wavelengths are the actual wavelengths that we're going to capture in that thylakoid membrane, in the chlorophyll. All right, as our chlorophylls stop, like right now in the fall, and our leaves are no longer living, that's when you see that color change. Okay. So our light dependent is going to do that. It's going to gather our blue and red energy. It's going to slow it down, convert it from NADP to NADPH, and we're going to make some ATP. So we make some ATP, and we're going to make that NADPH, which is going to be important for when we go to the light independent reaction. Right? So we see our inputs and we see our outputs of the light dependent phase. How are we feeling? Light dependent, we gather sunlight, it gets refracted in our chlorophyll, we grab that energy. That energy is going to be converted into ATP, which is the money of the cell. That's the type of energy our cells need, our plant cells need to function. And it's not just going to make ATP. It's going to make that very valuable molecule that we learned about in cellular respiration, NADPH. And if we remember anything about NADPH, it's our secret weapon for mass ATP production in the electron transport chain in animal cells. So that's going to give us kind of a clue as to what it's going to do for us in the next cycle. Okay? And our light independent reaction, we're going to take all of those things. We're going to take the ATP, the NADPH, and the oxygen. And there goes my slide again. Where did it go? And we're going to use those just like we did in the electron transport chain to produce more ATP. I know. This is so super frustrating. So while I give up on my slides, let's do this activity that I have pulled up. It is a game. Everybody likes a good old game, right? Let's do this. I'm going to give it to you. Here is the link. It's a word wall game. All right, it's going to help you label. all of the things. All right. I'll put that on the board too, since we've lost. So odd. Since we lost all our slides, or at least the last of my teaching slides, we can go through for the light independent reaction more tomorrow as well. So that you can see that closer up. Let's just focus on the beginning goals, which is where it takes place, which you know in the chloroplast. Did it just disappear again? I am so oh, there we go. Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Schmidt. All right, let's label this. Let's label this diagram. Where does everything go? If you can use your mic, tell Mrs. Schmidt where these things go. Or you may play it on your screen as well. I'm giving you that in chat. So let's make this the exit ticket. I went ahead. Oh, thank you, Kaden. I couldn't hear you, but I appreciate it.
The water is the watering pail.
I will get all the data from this game. So if you please play this with the last couple minutes here you have of class. I'll be quiet so that if you're talking, I'm not interrupting you.
Okay, we just love technology today. It's working so well. All right. Right.
I
So
know, I did. I got bamboozled.
Got
It was a
bamboozled.
crazy day in biology, but that's okay. We will have these days. Ms. Schmidt saved the day by being able to talk. Otherwise, I don't think we could do this because that would be scary.
So make sure you're completing.
If there are any questions, you can put them in chat. I can't hear you today. We'll get this all fixed up and ready to go for tomorrow. There is a quiz today. So this is something I want you to know. There is a quiz. There was a photosynthesis quiz that was supposed to be on Wednesday, but we had not covered the content. So some of you were like, I didn't want you. Okay, if you already did that, it is fine. You have another attempt to do it today. Today will be the due date since we went over photosynthesis today. You'll have most of the information you'll need for that, even though we didn't get to go over the light independent phase in detail. You should still be good to go for your quiz. So make sure you log in and do it. All the quizzes are super short. Kind of. The word wall is kind of like an exit ticket. It's not necessarily a quiz. Oh, and 3.20. I can move the 3.20 till tomorrow. Do the 3.17. There's my diagram. It finally came up. Yes, so let's do this. We'll do the 3.20 tomorrow. And we'll do the 3.17, I think it is, today. There you go.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, guys, have a wonderful, wonderful day. Sorry for the tech issues.
Yeah, you guys are
It'll
great.
be better tomorrow.
You guys are champs.
Have a great day.
Peyton, can you go in and see what your score was?